psychology. She works as an independent sport and exercise psychologist. She is a British Psychological Society registered sport and exercise psychologist and also the graduate basis chartered member of the BPS. Sanika is a former national table tennis athlete. She pursued a decade-long competitive career in India. She represented Maharashtra State and Air India at the national level for 10 consecutive years. She is an extremely passionate sport enthusiast and an avid reader. Her competitive athletic career gives her the edge in her delivery of mental training sessions in her professional career. We're glad we can have you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, can you just tell me if I'm audible and visible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yeah, so I will. Will you be able to give me some access in terms of screen sharing? Because I just have like a small.
Yes, ma'am. Can we have Sanika share screen, please?
Okay, I think I got it.
Yes, ma'am, it's done.
Is this visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay,
it is.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Before I begin, thank you, the Rotaract Club, and great project. I've been listening and hearing about this all over my Instagram. So it's really super congratulations to you guys for organizing such an event. Yesterday was the World Mental Health Day, and it's really, really important that everybody starts having a conversation around it, no matter how big, how small. And I'm going to do my bit. I'm just going to give you a quick little introduction about who I am. So I'm currently pursuing my doctoral in sport and exercise psychology from the UK. Because of the COVID situation, I'm still at home and haven't been able to travel. But I hope to travel soon. I've been a sportsman ever since I was a kid. That's the only thing that I know. That's the only thing that I could do when I was a kid. I started playing table tennis at a very, very young age and played throughout my teenage, I guess. And then I decided to pursue education. I started doing psychology. I took up a lot of interest in it. And while I was a competitive player, I personally consulted with a sports psychologist. And that is where my journey started with sports psychology. And I feel extremely, extremely passionate about it. But the other part of my story is also that when I was in the UK doing sports psychology masters, what I realized was, as a society, as a country, and as we move ahead in our lifestyle has started to become super, super sedentary. And I've been guilty. I mean, I understand being students, we are glued to our study tables. And if you're a working adult, maybe we are again glued to our seats, we're constantly working, and that sort of has its own effect on our life, on our health. And it's not just physical health but also mental health. And that is why I started my initiative called the Pink Project, where we talk about mental health, we talk about how can you maintain your mental health, the importance of self-care, and what it is and why it should be done. And so today I'm going to give you a little bit about how your physical body, your mental fitness is related, and why is it really important to have some access to physical exercise, some access to physical activity. And so here I begin. Again, if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to just unmute yourselves and give me like your opinion on it, I'm more than open to do that. So please, let's just keep it like a dialogue, because I personally don't like continuously talking a lot. So I'm hoping for your contributions as well. Please stop me whenever you want, ask me questions whenever you feel like. And I'm just going to begin now.
Sure.
So, I mean, the first question that I get asked a lot is sports psychology, though, okay, we understand, but what is exercise psychology? And, why is that really, really important? Now, when you think of India and when you think of psychology, the marriage is yet to happen, is my personal opinion. And we still aren't there where we accept it. And I was just hearing to the previous person talk, and I think it was about her story and her journey. And the last bits that I could gather from her talk was that we still yet have to have open conversations. and we should be having those open conversations. Similarly, sport and psychology also yet haven't married so well. It's still a very, very new field in our country, and it's a very potential career option that youngsters are now choosing, because now we're all hearing how the RCB has signed a sports psychologist, how Bengaluru FC has now tied up with the Scottish football club Rangers FC for mental health professionals, because ultimately sport is competitive. So you may need certain mental training skills, certain abilities to be consistent with your elite performance. So that is sports psychology. But how is exercise psychology relevant? Now again, in India the field has yet to develop, but in the West, in the UK, the research has become so vast and so much that there are a lot of interventions which can be put into place in terms of adherence to routine, adherence to working out, designing a routine, working out together, working out alone, and things like that. And how is that related? There is a lot of research in terms of how mental illnesses can be cured by having a physical activity routine. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard about mental illnesses like, say, schizophrenia, personality disorders, bipolar, and things like that. Of course, now the first course of treatment is medication and therapy, but exercise and physical activity has also been scientifically proven to work in order to elevate those symptoms, or decline the progression of the disease. So disease like Alzheimer's or dementia and things like that, can also, the symptoms can be delayed over a period of time. And that is how exercise comes into play, because when you work out, when you give yourself that energy release, there are certain things which happen in this pink portion in our human body, which is known to be the most complex organ. And like I've written there, there's a rush of happy and endorphins, there's a distraction from daily worries, and you sort of get into making healthy lifestyle choices. So that is typically how your body and your mind is related. And also exercise is also a lot of times it's seen as a form of consistent coping, which helps us in staying resilient. It prepares us for stress. So a lot of us personally would go out for a walk or go out for a run, say in the evening, after the end of the working hours of the day, or early in the morning. Can you guys give me like a thumbs up or like a yes and no if you have any exposure to physical activity? I mean, I understand with the whole COVID situation, it's all a little here and there, and we're stuck in our houses and how. But do you guys
Yeah.
have any experience with whether sometimes you were feeling, say, anxious or a little low, and say you went out for a run or a jog or just for a walk, and
Mhm.
say that helped you feel a little better? Have you guys had any experiences?
Personally, I can speak for myself. I think many people will agree with me. I'm a football fan. I play football as well. So it's not like I consciously go to play football when I'm pissed. But if there's an episode that's happened before, it gives me a release, and I
Mhm.
think it just it's an outlet for me.
Okay, and that is typically how exercise acts as a consistent coping mechanism, where
Right.
it starts to just make you feel a little better,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Ridan Saragi in the chat has said he used to go out for a run as a stress buster very often, but
Okay,
can't
okay.
now.
Okay, of course. Now I completely understand that things have
Right.
changed. We are a part of a global crisis.
Uh-huh.
But even through the whole coronavirus pandemic, I came across so many people doing so many innovative things at home, trying to make use of the resources that were available. Now, personally, I didn't have access to gym at all, so but that didn't sort of stop me from doing my routine, probably because my body is so used to having an outlet or having that schedule, because I was an athlete ever since. And when I used to play, I used to practice for about 8 hours a day. And then I completely switched to being a student, where my physical activity sort of took a drop. And that is when I started, feeling a little itchy and a little here and there and not too sure. And that is exactly when I realized that no, my mind and my body and my health in general is really interconnected. And I can't isolate the two and, treat the two differently.
Right.
So that is typical, and that's why the question, is it really connected? So I hope I have conveyed that yes, it is really, really connected. And moving further, we will see how. So, you don't have to be a runner, you don't have to be a mountaineer, you don't have to be like an excessive gym person for you to feel better. But any kind of body movement, any kind of physical activity, be it say 20 minutes a day and 3 or 4 times a week, is enough for your body to feel energetic, for your body to feel active and not too lethargic, and for it to give you a mental push as well. So for you to maintain that equilibrium between your physical health as well as mental health, a little movement goes a very long way. But
Right.
the catch here is that a little movement once a week isn't enough. So a little movement consistently over a period of time is something which is beneficial, which is something which is recommended scientifically as well. Now, what happens is a lot of times we tend to be extremely motivated in the first 2 weeks, and then sometimes it's say you want to say take an extra class in college, or you're working on a long-term project. Sometimes work commitments, relationship commitments, social commitments, things like that can also take a toll on your exercise routine, and that's okay. I mean, we as humans, we are social animals, so we are going to have an extensive social life. Again, I don't talk for everybody else. Personally, I'm not really a social animal, but assuming that we are young and we want to sort of be a part of a community. I mean, Rotaract is that example where you want to be a part of a healthy community who sort of does a lot of work. All of these commitments can sort of give us ki acha okay, today I feel really really tired and I really don't want to do it. Now it's fine, you skip a class, it's fine, we're all humans, you're going to skip a class and that's okay. But if that skipping a class starts becoming a habit, then we know that we're going down like a spiral of low internal motivation. And that is when working out together, or like when I was working with a couple of athletes online now, what I realized was in the first couple of days they were all very excited about doing everything online, because as kids this was something new for them. But 1.5 month into the online mental training, I found that their motivation had started dipping, and they were starting to show me that I don't want to do it today, and today I think because school ka homework hai, and all sorts of excuses. So what I found, which works for across all age groups, is if you work out together. Sometimes that can also give you like a boost, sometimes that can also help you with your motivation. It is just about finding what works for you, finding what sort of routine when in the day it works for you, to increase your motivation and to sustain that active lifestyle. Because working out once a week isn't really going to help you the way it will if you continue working out. So that's like like a golden nugget or whatever you might want to call it. Now I'm going to take you to a little area called as emotions and workout. Now, what as layman and as somebody who may not have had educational access to psychology, what happens is we tend to think that workout on a surface level is only premium or primarily only physical. But if you tend to look a little deeper, if you take a little dig at it, it's not just physical. Higher intensity workouts, to be very honest, give you that cathartic release through which you feel a little clear. So typically what happens is, say when you have had a hectic day and you go for a run, you may feel that, okay, now I feel a little clear in my own head, or now I feel a little relaxed, or now I feel a little nice. So that is how your high intensity physical workout has an effect on your emotions, where you start feeling a little calmer, where you start feeling a little nicer. And it's not only, it shouldn't be like a compulsive habit, because then you're going to get addicted to exercise as well. And I have come across cases where it's like a compulsive habit that people try and push them into, and then when they don't have access to exercise, when they don't have access to say gyms, their emotions actually go for a toss. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's something called as a runner's high, right?
Right.
Which
Right.
a lot of people experience that, a lot of people sort of go through that whole experience, and it's not really mentally healthy, is what I'm coming to when I say this. That everything has to have like a balance. When we are saying that yes, exercise is good for your mental health, over exercising can sort of have its physical defects in terms of you will be more prone to injury. You may have, say, dehydration problems. You may have muscular pain and things like that. But even emotionally, you may get addicted, just as people get addicted to say alcohol, to smoking, or to drugs. So trying to sort of strike a balance is something which is extremely important when you are designing your own workout, when you're designing, okay, what do I want to do? And then the next important part is when you try and relate your emotions to your workout, because there has to be like a sync in both, right? And what I mean by that is, for some people, say running might work, for some people gymming might work, for some people yoga might work, pilates might work, right? And there are so many options which are now available in terms of physical activity and physical exercise, that please take your time to explore the sort of options that you would like to take up, and then see whatever makes you feel good. Because if you are, like I've given an example, if you feel anxious, I think breathing technique, no matter how cliche it sounds and no matter how simplistic it may sound, but I think, just trying to relate to your emotions and trying to relate to how your entire day was, to your feelings, your workout can really help you exponentially in feeling better. So it's really, really important that you have a relationship going on between your emotions and your workout. And whenever you're doing any exercise, it's really, really important to focus on how that is making you feel. How do you feel after doing it? And if you're really mindful about what sort of situation were you in, or what sort of was your thought pattern before doing that particular workout, and do you feel better after your workout routine, I think that will also help you stay motivated, and that will also help you stick to your workout routine for a longer period of time. uh, I'm going to take like a quick pause if you guys have any questions up until
Right.
now.
There are actually.
Yeah, I mean, let's just take a little questions because I'm tired of
Right,
talking alone.
right. So there was one question more about what you do as a profession here. I'm
Okay.
currently studying psychology and I'm slightly inclined towards sports psychology. If you
Okay.
could please shed some light on the field outside of India, how would you suggest on to go about it?
Right. Now, unfortunately, in our country, we do not have formal educational courses in terms of either a bachelor's or a master's. The typical countries which you can look out can be UK, can be Australia, can be Canada, can be US. Sports science in the UK is really, really, really advanced. So I would say look out at the master courses in the UK. There are a lot of good universities: Loughborough, Brunel, Nottingham Trent, Nottingham University. A lot of good universities which have MSc programs, which are accredited by the British Psychological Society. So please ensure that whichever program you're about to enroll on has that accreditation. And if you would like further guidance in just about going about applying and the whole process, you can get in touch with me, say on my Instagram handle, or just maybe like a message or an email would be fine.
Right, right. That was a nice answer. Next we have is workout obsession a real thing?
Yes, workout obsession is a real thing, and there are a lot of layers to it when I say that it's real. Because what happens is, one is you can be addicted on a physical level, like I said, runners high, you get addicted to feeling cathartic, you feel addicted to that thought clarity, and that is why you may want to compulsively run. So that's one component of it. The other component of it, which I have noticed primarily in my work, in my consultancy work, is the social aspect. It's about how you feel, it's about how you look, it's about your appearance. So when things like body image and social image and all of those things, when you connect all of those things to working out, then also it can become compulsive, because then people say, okay, only when I'm working out, I'm looking fit. So in order to look fit, and in order to fit into that silhouette which society has carved out for me, I think those reasons can also sort of, push you towards that obsession level. If you understand what I say. I think you're muted. Yeah.
Sorry. Feeding off of that, there's another question from Hriday Agarwal. What suggestions do you have for fitness during the lockdown? And
During
I'll also ask it from my, like, personally, because I've struggled with it.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to sound too positive and too hopeful, but what I've seen online and what I've also, seen on my own house is that the whole lockdown period gave us so much free time, and even so, not we weren't used to having so much of time, and that's why we tend, a lot of people started looking towards healthy lifestyle choices, and I'm really glad. But I feel really bad that it took us a global pandemic to realize that our lifestyle choices might not be the healthiest. What you guys can do at home, yes, please explode in terms of your creativity. Please opt for options which are online. There are a lot of fitness trainers, a lot of Pilates trainers. Like my personal trainer started taking my sessions online, which again in the first couple of few days I wasn't so comfortable. The my room doesn't have that, and I don't have the equipment and this and that. But then I realized that I'm just making a fuss about resources which aren't going to be available to me
Right.
anytime 6 months or in 6 months as well. So might as well get
Right.
adapted.
Uh-huh.
But again, having said that, it's a very personal process to sort of adapt, whether you have those resources, whether you have access to stable internet. I mean, I'm grateful for stable Wi-Fi, because otherwise my world would
Aren't
have
we?
been,
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
yeah, because otherwise my world would have been, upside down. But
Right.
again, paying attention to all of these small choices, and like I said, working out together is personally, which is something personally I have come across, which has helped a lot of people. So say working out in your best friends group or your social
Mhm.
group or whatever, group of say
Right.
3 or 4 or 5, and there are so many outlets you can use, say Zoom or WhatsApp video call or Microsoft Teams for that matter.
Right.
And so just please go full in with your creativity, because I mean, I'll give you a very silly example. I didn't have access to dumbbells at all. I started working out, say, with those tubes, with those Thera tubes, and with bottles and whatnot, with dupattas and things. I started doing yoga, which I've never done. But it's just how you want to go about doing it. And don't go too overboard, because thinking कि अच्छा मेरे पास तो बहुत time है. I mean, of course, time सबके पास बहुत है, but try and pace yourself.
Right.
Try and pace yourself very wisely in order to
Right.
sustain that motivation for a longer period of time.
Okay. Sure. Next off, we have a little more technical question.
Mm-hmm.
After a bout of crying, like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that you've cried, if we meditate and likewise, and after we are angry, if we run, will it have a negative effect because the exercise is adding to your emotions? Or
Uh,
shouldn't it
yeah.
be that if you run, I'm sorry, but like I'm just continuing. Shouldn't it be that after you run, you feel sad and meditate while you're angry?
I mean, see, what works for you is a completely personal choice. Whether meditating is something which is going to help you center yourself, which is going to help you take stock of your emotions. If that is something which works for you, then yes, please go ahead with meditation. And there are so many different
Mhm.
ways of meditating. It's not just sitting in your place and just, focusing on your breathing and things like that. There are
Right.
many more ways of meditation. And there are a lot of online apps now which help you through a guided meditation. What we know of meditation, I mean, again, I don't talk for everybody, but personally, before entering the field of psychology, what I thought is, okay, you're going to sit in a place and you're going to, keep your hands in like a mudra and everything, just going to be, breathing and things like that. But that may not work. You have to be taught how to meditate. No matter how cliche it sounds, it's not really simple to enter into a state of complete calmness and having control over your thoughts. So please help yourself. Please read about it, because there are a lot of options available, again, even when you want to go through a guided meditation, the whole process. So look for that. And I mean, I just missed out on the crying bit. Can you repeat that once again?
So she connected crying to so shouldn't be that you should meditate. No, I'm sorry. Shouldn't you run after you feel sad or cry?
Okay.
Will you feel better?
Okay, again, now after you've experienced, I mean, I would say that since you've cried, you must have experienced a certain intensity of emotions. And
Mhm.
yes, crying, running for a, say, longer period of time, say 15-20 minutes, can give you that cathartic release, can help you sort of gain stock of your emotions. If again, it's like a personal choice. It's
Mhm.
how you relate. It's what you think when you're crying, actually, when you're
Right.
running, I'm sorry. So it's not just कि अच्छा तुमने रो लिया, you feel a little okay, and then you decide, okay, now I want to go out for running, and okay, now I come back and I expect myself to be at a baseline. I'm so sorry to bust that bubble, but that is not how things work. You are going to have to process those emotions, because otherwise you never know when it's going to find an outlet and again sort of, steer you into a direction of having like an emotional episode. So yoga may work, meditation may work, running may work, provided you are processing your emotions. So, exercise can be an outlet, but you can't ignore what you're feeling. So just because you run, you're not going to feel good. That is what I'm trying to establish.
Right, great. Also, one last question, and also, audience, feel free to keep sending me questions. We will
Yeah.
address them as and when we can. But for now, the last question is again related to your field. How similar are sports psychology and health psychology?
Okay. Now, sports psychology and health psychology are again not very popular in India as different specialties. We still have a lot of counseling psychologists and clinical psychologists working in overlap. So that's one. How are they similar? To some extent, a lot of exercise psychology principles are applied in health psychology, and a lot of health psychology principles are then, they have a lot of overlap. But when you have a degree in sports psychology, you are limiting your population in terms of athletes and exercise population only. So you are ethically bound to only work in sport. You cannot take up general clients. So
Right.
when you say study health psychology, you are open for employment options, say in a hospital or in a rehab facility,
Correct.
right? If you are an exercise psychologist, you can still work in a rehab facility, but your scope of work is going to be completely different. So in terms of principles, in terms of theory, there's a lot of overlap, but in terms of ethical practice, I think we have to stick to our population.
Right.
And in health psychology, you tend to work with a lot of geriatric population as well. So if you are somebody who is interested in working with geriatric population, then I think health psychology is something you can look up to.
Right. I think that's great. And personally, I had a question. If you could answer, can you quickly just take us through without it becoming too technical because we don't have much knowledge? How does it affect our body when we play a sport? If suppose our levels are down or we're sad, how does it positively affect? Like what chemicals? Like how does it work? How does it work
Okay.
inside our body?
Okay, so there are a lot of big names which I might take, so don't overwhelm yourself. What you have to understand, actually, just let's skip the names. We all know endorphins. We all know. I mean, I'm assuming, but we all know something called as neurotransmitters. Right. So what neurotransmitters are basically are chemical messengers in your brain. What they help is they help the brain communicate with the body and have the body communicate with the brain. That is as simplistic as possible. Now, when you play sport, there are certain areas in your brain which process emotions, which process thoughts, feelings. If you've done basic schooling here, you will know that there are 4 different lobes in our brains. So your
Right.
frontal lobe, your parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and things like that. Now, when you are indulged in any physical activity, your brain function is altered. Your brain function changes as compared to when you're sitting and reading a book. Right? Because there are different neurotransmitters which are firing across information and trying to communicate with your body. Okay. Now, when you play sport, you are not just playing it on a physical level, but you are also using your brain in terms of decision making, in terms of creativity, in terms of experimenting, in terms of thought pace. So when you play sport, you play football, it's a pretty fast sport, right? You don't have
Right.
to look at your ball and your goalkeeper, but you have to have an active peripheral vision as well to see
Right.
whether who's coming to sort of stop you, or where are your teammates. If I want to make a pass, who do I pass it to? Right. So
Right.
you're really, really active. You're
Correct.
really alert. You're not lethargic, as as compared to when you say would be taking a nap. So your brain is extremely active, and that is what keeps it healthy. So the more you play, the more workout you do, the more exercise your brain also gets. And
Right.
that is why, with all of these mental illnesses like Alzheimer's and dementia, where the brain activity takes a drop, and you try and, give yourself a physical activity routine, it helps in restoring that brain function.
Right.
I've tried to be as less technical as
Yes,
possible,
yes, yes, yes.
but
I
more or
think
less that's how things work.
right. Also, I got a follow-up question to what I asked. Is it the same case when people dance in order to lift their mood? or are there
Yes.
different chemicals
Yes.
involved?
So, actually, sport psychology also, we also tend to work with a lot of performers. So, say drama, drama artists, theater artists, dancers, everybody, because ultimately it's all performance.
Right.
Right, so when you go on when you go on stage, you
Absolutely.
might have anxiety jitters, you might have butterflies in your stomach. So
Mm-hmm.
people who take it up as on a career level may need a psychologist's support to sort of perform better. So yes, dancers, actors, theater artists, everybody.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. I think we can move on to the
Yeah, I
presentation.
mean, I just have like
Next
a
question.
like the last slide or so, I guess.
Right. Sure. Sure. We can do questions after that.
Yeah, makes sense. So
Right.
again, like I said, last bits, exercise isn't a magic pill for our emotional problems. And it will not always safeguard us from, negative feelings or negative emotions. So we can't say that just because I work out, now I'm going to be like a unicorny, cheery person all the time. I'm sorry, again, busting a bubble, but that is not, unfortunately, how things work. But
Mm-hmm.
sticking to a routine, sticking to something which you like to do, which is from your personal choices, is going to help you manage your mental health way, way better. And last bits, working out may seem tedious, but doing so only helps us live healthy. And when I say healthy, it's not just on a physical level, but physically and mentally. So I think that's from me. And I would just like to sort of leave you with, before I take more questions, that don't plan out for an entire month. Don't say, okay, this month I'm going to do HIIT, then the next month I'm going to do this and that. Start small, because that is going to help you stay steady in terms of sticking to your workout routine. So ensure that whatever you choose, whatever fitness program you want to sort of take on, please go ahead and do that. If you have not started working out yet, I hope what we talked about today is going to push you a little in terms of making that healthy lifestyle choice. Because believe me when I say that, when we work out, we don't just keep our heart health and our brain health in sync, but we also somewhere are keeping our mind health. We're keeping our mind healthy, basically. So when we talk about mental demons like anxiety, depression, feeling sad, feeling low, feeling scared, all of those things also are going to fall in place once we stick to that routine for a longer period of time, if that makes sense. And now I'm
It
more than
does.
happy to take up questions.
Right. So I've got a couple of more questions
Yeah, I
in the
think I'm just
chat.
going to, just give me like a minute, I'm just going to stop sharing the screen,
Right.
so that yeah.
Of course. Are you gonna go?
Yeah.
Right. First up, we have a question about get sitting on on a desk.
Hmm.
Like when work gets taxing, how can you help your body, or like physically? Is there any exercise that you can do that can help?
Right. Now, what happens is, again, I'm going to talk a little scientific so that, I really put that idea across. When you are
Right.
working for a very, very long period of time, your concentration can take a hit, your decision making can take a hit, and your creativity can also take a hit. And
Right.
which all of these things might affect your work productivity. So it's always beneficial to take smaller gaps. Now I understand that we are all at home, and we may not be working from home, but living at work for the most of the people who are here. Because we have a lot of time, we tend to put that, acha chalo thoda time hai, chalo main laptop laga leti hu, let's see what mails I have, let me check what's in my inbox and things like that. But please ensure that you're not overworking yourself even when you're at home. uh, try and do basic stretches. That is also going to help you. Say, just get up from your, say, workstation, try and take a walk in your house, in the room that you're sitting, try and sip on water, and also try and sip on certain electrolytes. So your brain thrives on glucose, so make sure that you have some salty sweet, some munching to go on, of course healthy munching on your workstation, have like water, and do like basic simple stretches. That's also
Right.
going to help you you know stay motivated, and just work productively, even when you have to sit for like 7-8 hours, because I
Right.
assume that there will be a lot of people here who may work for those longer hours,
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
study for that matter.
Correct. Correct. That answers that question well enough. again, another question about your profession. Do sports psychologists work with sportsmen? And
Yes.
yeah, can you elaborate more on the life of a sports psychologist?
Yeah. I'll tell you how I work. I'll tell you again, I don't have a lot of work experience. I've just been working for 2 years and now I'm again back to being a student because I'm studying my doctoral degree. Typically, sports psychologists work with athletes, coaches, and parents. Again, it's not very open, it's not really accessible, so not a lot of coaches will be open to having like a sports psychologist attached, say, to their academy or to their association or whatever. But yes, we primarily work with athletes, or athletes right from who are as young. So my youngest athlete is an 8-year-old, and my eldest athlete is now is sort of preparing now for a Tokyo Olympic qualifier. So it's a vast range of age group across all levels. So you may work with somebody who's just at a district level, who say plays school cricket, or who plays at the national level, or like I played for Air India, who may play for some organization. We work with them. We also work with coaches in terms of coach education, in terms of coach emotional intelligence. So if you studied psychology, you will know all of these words. We also tend to work with parents because an athlete doesn't only become successful because he plays well, he or she plays well. He has an entourage of people who work in the same direction as his or her goals are. So effective parenting, how to be a parent to an elite sportsman, how to be a parent to a girl child, to a girl athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So all sorts of those things. So primarily, yes, athletes is the most say sought out population group for sports psychologists. But we also tend to work in rehab centers in terms of exercise psychology. So you can work in say a schizophrenia ward or like a psychiatric ward where you're going to have to design a physical activity routine, keeping in mind their therapy, their medication, and everything, so that you have like a holistic treatment program for people who have sort of mental illnesses. You also tend to work with a lot of Alzheimer's and dementia patients because there you see a lot of brain cognitive decline. So
Right.
you sort of design again workout routines, physical activity routines, basically, to sort of help them better deal with their symptoms in the long run. So maintaining their life quality, I would say.
Right. Okay. I hope that answers that question. Next up, we have right. Okay. This one's a funny one. How do you resume working out after a gap of 6 months? Because your body will be dead.
Yeah. Now, again, what I feel is even when sport resumed, even when competitive sport like IPL and English Premier Leagues, when they all started resuming, we all had a lot of news coverage when it came to it really feels weird to play without the audience in the stadium, and it feels really lonely and things like that. And what sports psychologists actively do when they work with such clients is that they try and help set effective goals in terms of a dialed down intensity, because your body has had a lot of break, which is typically unusual for athletes and for people who have a strict workout routine. You may not give yourself a 6-month break from life, I would say. So working out is just one part of your life.
Right.
So what can you do is you can please set smart, effective, dialed down version of your goals. Starting small is really important. So you can't just go into the gym and expect, okay, आज तो मैं वही weight उठाऊंगा या वही weight उठाऊंगी जो मैं 6 महीने पहले उठाती थी. I'm
Right.
really sorry to again bust a bubble, but that is not going to happen. You're going to
Of course.
sort of put yourself into an injury prone
Right.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so starting small is really key. If setting effective goals is really important. So you could just start by warming up your body, just how we typically do in a gym. You start, maybe if
Mm-hmm.
it's your first week, you start with a little bit of cardio, and you don't directly go into the weight section. You
Right.
don't
Correct.
directly go to abs and legs and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So start small, work out on a little bit of your cardio, because you've been home, your physical activity output has gone low. So your body may not really take that intensity that well.
Right.
It's really
Right.
important to start small and start
Makes
slow.
sense. Makes sense. And I think for the last question of the day, since there's so much interest in what you do and your profession, we would like to know your story. You were a sportsman before, and how do you end up taking this as a profession, and how did it go?
Okay, I'm so sorry, excuse me. So I started playing table tennis at when I was in my fourth grade. And unfortunately, my mother was like, please don't stay at home and bug me in your summer vacation and just please do something. So she enrolled me for like a summer camp in my school, and there was the only sport that was available was table tennis. I picked it up. I really enjoyed. I really had fun when I was playing. And then my coach sort of invited my parents over, maybe she should start training competitively. Let's see what happens. She's anyway very very young, so dekhte hain kya hota. Are you willing to invest, and invest in terms of not just monetarily but in general, are you willing to sort of work towards a competitive career? And I was like, yeah, I want to do it and everything. And the academy that I played with had like esteemed international players. So I
Right.
saw India t-shirts, I saw the Indian flag, I saw their names on the t-shirt, on the kit, and
Right.
that fascinated me. I was like, I want to do this, and if I ever want to become something, I want to become a sportsman. Fortunately, I come from a family of sportsmen. So everybody in my family has played sport to
Oh
some
wow.
extent. So my father was a Ranji cricketer. My mother, okay, my mother's the only one who hasn't played. My brother plays cricket. My grandfather used to play cricket. My
Right.
chachu is like a karate black belt. And, so
Wow.
I've grown up seeing India versus Australia, seeing Federer versus Nadal and, Agassi matches. That's how my childhood was. I've not
Right.
seen Disney, and I've not played with Barbies and, things,
Right.
conventional things, I would say. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but yeah. So that's how I started. And I think when I was in my seventh grade, when I was competitively, I was India number 2, and I was consistently playing very, very well, touch wood. That is when I had like a career slump where, I thought that maybe I can't push myself through this. So my coach was, she took an active role. She's like a second parent to me practically. She suggested that I should go and, consult a sports psychologist. So I
Mhm.
spoke to one. I started taking sessions. I started doing a lot of yoga and a lot of mental training. And the first session that I left, I mean, I was in my seventh grade, but I told my mom when I came home that if I don't play table tennis and, if I don't feel like, because, I'm losing the fun, I think. But if I ever have to do a job, this is something that I would really like to do. And then I started looking at what psychology is, and I was really really inquisitive कि एक match ना मैं बहुत अच्छा खेलती हूँ and I really feel very nice, but the second match, damn it, I lose like a dumb shit player. Why does that happen to me, and why are
Right.
there so many fluctuations in my performance? And that is the kida that I only put in my own head. And I started
Mhm.
looking at human behavior and how psychology works and things like that. And that is how my journey with psychology started. So when I was in
Right.
my 12th, I think I was, dead sure that I want to do sports psychology and I want to move out of my country because it's not available here. So I think, having been an athlete and having faced the anxiety, the jitters before a match, the sadness, the crying bout after losing a match, and the exhilaration you feel when you're on the podium, they're handing over you a gold medal. I feel, having
Mhm.
felt it so strong in me, and that passion has sort of driven me to the work that I do right
Right.
now. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I think I personally learned a lot, and our audience did as well. I didn't know much about sports psychology, and I am going to look it up. I am going to look up dupatta yoga for sure. But thank you
Definitely. It
so
helps you
much.
with a lot of mobility. I can promise
Right.
that.
I hope I need that. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sanika.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. If you guys have any more questions, if you have any questions which weren't answered, you can get in touch with me over the Instagram handle. It's pink with a double K, so don't get confused there.
Right.
Instagram wouldn't have me a single K, so I had to have a double K. So you can message me there, and I'll be more than
Right.
happy to
Right.
sort of have a chat.
Can we have her Instagram written in the chat, please? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanika. Thank you so much. And yeah, are we good to go for the next one, guys?